Hello, everybody, and welcome back to week number 5 of the Iron to Plat MCOM tournament. And now, after 5 steady weeks of seeing our teams battle it out in 2 groups to try and battle their way up to the top, we finally made our way to the final week. Well, we will be finally deciding our teams to get through to the playoffs. Now, Champ Select we're just about to jump to, but before we get there, I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, 600K. How you going, mate?
Yo, I'm good. Everybody here saw me last week as Power Play. This week, I'm filling in as Cardcaster. Excited to be back, and I hope we'll all be good. Hey, this match should be fun.
So, 600K. We've just seen the 13.9... Wait, it's 6K. My bad, mate. We've just seen the 13.9 patch come in. And there's been a couple of changes that I think we should talk about. I mean, we've seen the Nico changes, which are bizarre, to say the least. But Nico's been shafted for a while. She won't be seen in the MCOM tournament for the next 2 weeks. But in the meantime, there are a couple of changes that are worth talking about. And I think the first one we should bring up is the Jinx change. Now, Jinx's change, I've written down here, has gone from 3.480 growth to 3.15. Wow. Yeah, is that really going to do anything?
No. So that's actually less, by the way, than 0.25 a level at early levels, because you get less than your growth amount per level at low levels and more at high levels. So it's even less of a nerf than you would think. It's nothing.
Okay, well, either way, we're going to jump straight into draft and take a look at our bans of what we got so far. Jinx being banned out, unsurprisingly. Look, as you said, her nerf is pretty useless. Xayah and Zeri all going out. Right now, ADC is getting banned across the board. I'm not surprised to see that. But then again, there may be some other ADC picks that we're not opting towards, which actually have a fairly high pick rate, especially in Platinum, someone like Kaiser, who is really, really strong, actually.
So, what I'm thinking here more is that we've seen Lockster in previous weeks, especially last week, be really good on especially these 3 specific AD carries. He can carry games really well through them, these like takeover team fights 1v5 style carries. And so banning that and now looking at picking the Aphelios almost, with the Vi Aphelios, it's limiting Lockster's champion pool and trying to force him off comfort.
So, if we're... But then again, Kaiser still is a really strong AD carry, especially along with Kha'Zix and things like that. So, is he really the center of the team then? Like, what are we looking at here? With everything being banned out, I mean, we've got an Aphelios looking to be locked in right now, which is arguably the best ADC in the game right now.
So, like, yes, but what also I'm looking at is that now he's on this Varus, for example, it's much less of this take over the game 1v5 type carry. And we saw, especially last week, the games they did win, it was through their bot lane, and the games they did lose, Lockster was still having good games in them on, like, Xayah, Jinx, and I think Zeri just banned all 3 games. So maybe we're being on the Varus this time, it's going to have to force how their team plays to change, and especially Varus Seraphine is a very different bot lane. It's a much more lane priority-centric bot lane than they usually play. The other side, on a quick look into this, Masana's Orianna, Masana's playing mid for the Knights, is insane. It's so good. I saw it 2 weeks ago, 10-0. It was just dominating the game. So that's a pick I'm really excited for, and it's definitely one of the signature picks for the night.
I am quite surprised, though, to see an Orianna come out this early in the draft, especially with the fact that someone like Ahri hasn't been banned out, those people that can suppress control mages. So if by some chance Ahri is playable and within the champ pool of the mid laner, then Orianna might find herself in a bit of a pickle. Then again, Seraphine can flex to mid lane if things are a little bit dire. And I'm really interested to see how the rest of this draft goes out. We've just seen Milio being taken away, as well as Jax. Jax and Milio, both unsurprisingly, some of the highest pick rates within the Platinum Elo. And Karma now being locked in with our Aphelios as his support. Now, what exactly are your thoughts on the Aphelios Karma into a lane of Varus Seraphine?
I think, so the biggest worry with Varus Seraphine is that Aphelios is going to be fairly weak to this, like, range damage early, in some ways, and you're going to struggle to get lane prior at times. So by taking the Karma, you can try to help deal with those through the shields and also through the wave clear the Q provides. It's going to scale a bit worse than like a Lulu, which is banned, or some other similar champion, but I think it's fairly reasonable. It's obviously just a comfort thing as well, I think, in the end, but I don't hate it too much. They have Vi from Gage still. The other side, there's that Ahri you're bringing up into the Orianna, so that it is a way to shut her down a bit.
Well, as I mentioned, there it is, the Ahri. Completely expected. Ahri is such a great champion because of not only her mobility to be able to break into the enemy backlines and in lane be able to use Spirit Rush to just dash left, right, and center. Orianna, on the other hand, can't do that. So Ahri, with her significantly superior mobility, her ability to outrange control mages, And also, her strength in being able to charm and lock people down means Orianna's super susceptible to not only getting solo boloed, but ganked as well. And with Lee Sin locked in as a jungler, I'm telling you right now, Orianna looks like she's going to have a really, really bad lane. Looking towards the last top laner now, which has just been locked in as Poppy.
Wait, we have Wukong versus Poppy top? Or is it?
Wait, you're right.
It could be the top Lee Sin. It could be. I think it's the top Lee Sin. I've seen this.
Yeah. Okay. It's a Lee Sin top. Wow.
So that changes things. I think I would have preferred the Lee Sin jungle. Honestly, I think Wukong Ahri is a bit weaker. You have less pre-6 pressure in your combos. That Wukong combo, but Poppy's still good into Lee Sin as well. So we will have to see.
So the most important thing, sorry to interrupt right now, is to point out that we still have our predictions up. If you haven't managed to spend all your points on a single team right now, I know that, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we had a bit of unfortunate shenanigans with Casual actually not getting the script right. And due to that, a lot of people lost points. So now's a good chance for you to make your points back. Please chuck them in the predictions, see what you get. But now, before we get into the game, I think we've got a couple of minutes to break down how we're feeling about how these teams are going to play up against each other. Now, 6K, first look, how are you feeling about both these guys?
I think that I prefer the Red Team comp in a decent number of ways. I think you've got Vi Poppy frontline, this very clear front to back comp that's just trying to do the front back thing. I do worry a bit about their prior. I think Ahri, as you said, should have prior. Mid, I think top will likely go to the Lee Sin, especially early, and Aphelios into Varus should go to the Varus, especially the Seraphine. So I do worry a bit about the prior, but I think it scales better. I think it's easier to play as well as the other big one. Blue side here, though. Wukong level 6 powerful. Ahri's got this strong ult. We do have a lot of really strong ults here, and they do have a bit of a wombo potential with like Seraphine ult, Wukong ult chaining. And then Varus, I guess, can follow up. And so I do worry a bit about maybe a lack of damage if they don't snowball hard early game. So I have to see, but
I think you're right about that. The laning phase is probably where the most essential part of the blue side is going to be seen. Lee Sin in the top lane. Look, I can't say I'm all for it, but maybe the Lee Sin into Poppy is an unexpected matchup. Either way, Wukong has a lot of strength with ganks. I think that's another thing to point out. Wukong, Ahri, Varus, Seraphine, the amount of lockdown that these guys have is unbelievable. And if Lee Sin can drop an insec, being able to kick Poppy straight back into the middle of the lane, then Wukong and Ahri with their roaming potential, especially the pressure she puts down on Orianna, is going to make this game a really hard one to combat. I mean, I want to bring it up to you. 6K, what role do you play?
I play mostly bot right now. So
okay, look, I've been playing bot a lot as well, except I keep getting supports that don't know how to play the game. Let's just put it like that. And I'm struggling as an ADC. With the nerfs coming out, especially with Jinx and stuff like that, I think ADC still stands at the pinnacle of what carries the game and how most teams are centered around it. Either way, we are going to have to jump to a quick break for just a moment as we jump in, and then we can discuss how the teams are going to be laid out and how this game is going to go just a little bit more. For now, sit back. I'm going to go put something cooler on because I am sweating right now. And besides that, get a blanket, get comfy, and we'll see you guys on the other side of the break. Welcome to the first game of the night, and just remember everybody that this week is the one that counts the most. Week number 5 of the MCOM Iron to Plat tournament, and this is the one that's going to run us into play-in. So, every single win and every single loss that happens tonight could lead each team to teeter on the brink of defeat, victory, and proceeding to the playoffs. Welcome back to the first game of the night, everybody, joined here by 6K, and I gotta tell you, we got a doozy of a game. We managed to break down the mid lane, and Ahri was counterpicked into Orianna, but then we got a Varus, Seraphine, Aphelios, Karma bot lane, and 6K, it seems like you have the most... Okay, Sharky walking here into the Ahri. Ahri hasn't gone Charm first, so Sharky won't be locked down, and as I was saying, 6K, could you please break down this bot lane for us?
So I'm gonna be clear, as everyone knows, I'm a play by trade, but it's fine. So my understanding of this bot lane, way I've seen it played, is that...
That's okay. Look, no pressure, man. No pressure.
No, I actually feel fairly confident on this one because these are all pro play camps. Varus has a lot of poke, especially O, with this E and then the Q as well. And Aphelios doesn't really have ways to match that. He has sustain through Red Gun, but once Red Gun especially runs out, that hurts. and he can't really trade back. He doesn't have these ways of like dealing with the range. And Seraphine also has this pressure through spells, and the wave clear as well, and Aphelios is also struggling with that, so this lane should get pushed in. Karma does help with a bit, can shield Varus poke, but I suspect it should go Varus side early, and then obviously Aphelios just scales really well late.
Okay, so we're going to see Aphelios get really strong late game, and right now Varus and Seraphine should be controlling the lane. But the thing about Aphelios, right, is you have to get his gun rotations right, especially when you come down in combat. So when Aphelios is on a not so ideal gun rotation, so maybe something like a flamethrower, and it's the flamethrower and gravity gun is actually a good combo. Sorry, is it the red into the flamethrower, or is it the red into the gravity gun?
Red blue is the bad. Is like the bad one that you still have in your rotation, is my understanding.
So we may see that come along, which happens very early in Aphelios' rotations. Though if you haven't played Aphelios, that might kind of go over your head. You'll see it as we take a look towards the bot lane. And if we can see these two keep control of the lane, then maybe Varus and Seraphine will be able to drop down some ults, or at least some very well-placed roots, to be able to lock down both of these two and shut them out of the game. So keep your eyes on bot lane for some aggression. On the other hand, I want to bring up the changes that we've seen in Kayle. Now, 6K, have you had a chance to go over the patch notes?
Yeah, actually, I have.
So, what did you hear about Kayle? What did we learn?
Biggest Kayle changes. Her ult now doesn't have anywhere near as long of a period of time once you cast it where you can't auto-attack. It's gone from 1.5 seconds of being unable to auto-attack down to just half a second. In exchange, it takes longer for the souls to fall down. The invulnerability period is the same, I believe, or it doesn't scale with levels anymore, but the big change is that Kayle, if she ults herself, can start auto-attacking far earlier, or if she ults someone else, but that's obviously a bit less important.
And I think, well, one of the most important things to point out is that Kayle now doesn't have a reduced range when she ults, which has been something that has kind of held Kayle back during her ultimate. So being able to have her regular range while she's ulting basically means that she's still just as much of a weapon as she normally is. With that decreased cast time and the, I guess you could say, increased range, she is just as dangerous as she is with her ult, inside her ult, as outside of it. Not seeing her locked in now, though, is a bit of a disappointment, but I guess people aren't training enough Kayle to just have locked her in there.
The patch only coming out today means that people won't have had time to practice this. That, I think, bot lane's a bit volatile right now, and we do see Hamyan pathing down, so this Wukong might be coming for a gank, and they should be playing safe. It's a good punish wave. But top lane's actually going pretty well.
Vision. Here we go, and Hamyan finally has a good chance here to try and lock down the Karma. The Varus rain comes down, and Karma's barely going to make it away. Ian, just a sliver of health, walking away with their lane partner, but after being forced out of lane here, then we're going to see Aphelios put himself a little bit behind in the cull. And, I mean, you as an ADC player, have you been buying cull a lot recently as first item, or at least backing onto it?
Not really, but that's mostly because I play like Kai'Sa and other champs who don't always want to. I do buy it as Jinx, it just really depends on game state and how I feel about the matchup.
I think we saw in the first game of the MSI today, which was PSG facing up against the Japanese team from LJL, we saw both of the bot laners, which was Jinx facing up against Aphelios, buy a cull, but Aphelios had bought the cull first and scaled way above the Jinx because Jinx backed onto a cull. And it really shows the kind of spike we're going to start expecting here coming out of the cull. Once it's finished, getting a huge juicer of huge juice of gold, getting an additional 350 gold on top of finishing that cull early in the game is a whole nother longsword, a pair of boots. It's so handy that you put something like that down in exchange for being a little bit behind the lane at the very start of the game, which is, as you mentioned, you picked down really well that Aphelios and Karma are going to have a hard time in lane up against these two. So Aphelios intelligently opting out to get the cull instead of anything that would give him pressure in lane.
Yeah, definitely. And I think cull's also obviously really good in Aphelios. You want to be attacking a lot to get on hit, which is like obviously a bit worse than lifesteal, but the gold spike is so valuable for getting these mythics early, especially the IE changes we saw early this season with crit mythics. Crit legendaries, they're not mythics just yet. Pushing them to only being 40% crit chance makes it far more important. You anything spike so much harder on these second items than previously, and that's really when Aphelios is going to start coming online. Just getting that extra gold early is very important. Top lane, I don't expect much to be done here. What I'm more looking at here is when this Sharkian Spy gets her ult, making possibly really big plays with this mid lane, with this shockwave to set up, and then you can chain like cease and desist and just do a lot of damage there. Top lane, we're seeing dueling. I don't expect anything to happen, but I think these ults are all up, so...
Right now, the Infernal Dragon up. Aphelios has 2 longswords down now back into lane, but they don't have enough lane prio, the red side, to be able to try and take this dragon. Vi still going to try to remain around for some pressure and may be able to come in for a gank here, but that river is completely warded. So, on the other hand, the other thing I want to point out is Orianna just backed, teleported back into lane, and Ahri finally has Spirit Rush available to put more pressure onto this Orianna. But I am quite baffled by the fact that she still actually has more CS than the Ahri. Ahri was out of lane for a little bit, but this Orianna is having too much freedom in lane right now.
Yeah, this is what I was actually talking about in the draft a bit. The Sana's Orianna is really good, and that's huge, but top lane... die. Nothing's gonna happen. We see Fail dive there. They now know Wukong is. Sharky's here as well to try and counter gank if they go for the re-dive. So, it's about 10 CS down here for Meat Bun in this matchup, which I feel is fairly fine at this point in the game. Poppy should just scale better in the matchup. We saw her get buffed recently, but actually...
Poppy gonna get dived here. Vi coming down for the counter gank, and Lee's gonna dash straight back on top of her. As top, he's gonna break away from the engagement, though he still has the cease and desist on his tail. Vi, not level 6 yet though, so she can't pull it out. She's gonna chase him down, and Top's used the bush to successfully conceal his presence as a game of cat and mouse starts emerging here on the top side, and no support coming from either of them, meaning the top is going to come in and break away. Cyclone coming down as well. Ian completely picked apart by Wukong, as now it's Kanabe all alone. Even with the Moonlight Vigil coming down, Lockster is going to shut him out and pick up the first expected kill of the lane.
Yeah, so this is kind of what I was talking about. A lot of damage you have set up with these ults as well. That makes it really hard for Aphelios to play the game, being this immobile ADC into Seraphine ult, Varus ult, both of these where if they hit, you can then use the other or follow up with all these abilities and just kind of 100 to 0 them consistently. The jungler there just makes it so hard, and this is what you expect to happen here. There's still a CS lead, maybe, but not for long. Plates will start getting taken, and they get the Drake off that plate. It's really good play, really good map presence. We do see Sharky, though, taking Rift Herald on the top side. What I actually want to call back to is in that play earlier on top side, where Sharky was unable to chase top down. Sharky was approximately, I think, 1 mini Krug away from getting to level 6. I checked the XP afterwards. Those mini Krugs were still there. Possibly, if Sharky auto-attacks one of them, you get to 6 and chase it down, but probably not, and it might not have been worth at this point. What's more important, though, is getting Rift Held worth less than the 2 kills, worth less than the Drake, but they do have it, and we can try to put it in maybe mid, break the Ahri tier 1, make it harder for her to get around the map.
And I'm really surprised at her lack of pressure right now. We haven't seen Ahri. I mean, the wave is shoved right now, and she hasn't taken the opportunity to roam, get some more wards down. It's a bit of a struggle for this Ahri, as all of her lanes are kind of shoved right now and winning, and she's not pressuring her own lane. So at least she can hand over all the responsibility to the rest of her team, because 3 kills now in the hands of Stormwolves as Knights are struggling to catch up. Only 1,000 gold behind, and Rift Herald in the hands of Sharky, as we mentioned earlier. Should be looking to get this one down and may have enough time in it before the next dragon comes up. It is a while away though. So a Hextech Drake means we are removed from the Infernal or the Hextech Rift. Vi now pathing down to the bot side with Orianna to back her up after this wave is shoving.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess what I'm also looking at here is wards with vision. We've got the red side vision set up still top side from the Rift Hell, but they're starting to move to bot side, try to keep this side safe and track it, because Poppy's going to keep getting harder and harder to kill this ultimate. I think, Keeper's vision? No, I don't know. It's fine. Just makes it really hard to actually gank her successfully if she gets vision of you coming. But they're going to go for it anyways. Dodging the vision here.
Here we go. We might just see the Keeper's Verdict here come out as Wukong comes down for the gank. He's got double buff in his hands, and there's no time to get that hammer into the ground as Top picks up his second kill of the lane and an assist going over to the Mystical Monkey as well.
Yeah, I think Hamyan just been on the map, making these plays work really well. Meat Bun, a bit over-aggressive there on the Poppy, had to push in the wave, had to crash it, but all their vision had just been moved to the bot side, so it was actually a bit of a wrong timing, where she couldn't see that there was a gank coming, and maybe they could have known from guessing, but just a bit awkward to be that overextended when your team has all allocated their resources to the bot side. A bit of a mistake there. We do see, though... Yeah, no, So, top going for this lethality build, I believe this is the Eclipse that's getting built into, which is fairly normal for Lee Sin, but the last time we saw lane Lee Sin in the meta would have been 2011, where he built Gordrinker, so it is worth noting.
And if you missed it there, we just saw Varus miss his Chains of Corruption pretty badly. So now down an ultimate in lane, and probably the most essential ultimate, as Seraphine is still building hers back up to be used, as they have a chance to try and shut down Wukong here. He's going to get the root down, and again, without those Chains of Corruption, there's a lot more freedom for Aphelios here to roam around the lane, and having Moonlight Vigil, his ultimate, in the optimal scenario means that they may be able to take it away right now. We see Mythics finally spawning out across the board, but only on the side of Stormwolves. And this shows you that even the minor advantage they have is starting to spiral out of control. Everfrost means that there may be more of a chance of Ahri to shut down this Orianna here. But yeah, right now, I want to get your thoughts. I mean, will the Everfrost actually give Ahri more control in lane that she's been missing so far for this whole game?
Not really. Everfrost, I feel like, isn't really something you pick as Ahri if you want to be doing damage, if you want to be carrying. We've all seen the complaints about it, I think, online, especially Nymira, LPL caster, really hating this, but you go for these early skirmishes, and Everfrost is going to be good, hopefully, for maybe catching down first for the backline, but playing top side.
Sharky, it's a flash lockdown here on top as the cease and desist leaves him no room to get away. Keeper's verdict locking him inside the top lane as shut down goes to the jungler.
Yep. Great play there. Did look close for a second though, almost managed to get it back, but Dragon's Rage not enough there. Good gank, that is their first kill for the side of the Knights here, and maybe they can use that tempo to get back into it. The map kind of shut down there, and it gets us Sharky getting this Divine Thunder we're talking about, so Mythic's going to start coming in soon, and actually they've used the Rift Herald top. They're trying to funnel gold into this top Poppy, who's going to build tank actually, so I think that's a really interesting choice, because often I feel like you want to be funneling your gold into your carries or characters who can do damage or other things rather than characters who are just going to build tanky. So
then again, we're looking at Iron to Plat, and I think in a lot of scenarios, if you do prevent this Virus from scaling as hard as he might, then, I mean, look, I hate playing against tanky champions. So this Poppy does well, power to them. She may be taking these turret plates, but she's actually backed a little early. Her tempo hasn't been completely messed up by it, but she had teleport on hand and chose not to take more turret plates before the 14 minutes hit. An interesting decision here as Wukong comes down for Cyclone, the Encore locking Vi down. And finally, revenge for taking down top has been served. Menta, Orianna's walked up way too far. The Moonlight Vigil has the flamethrower in hand, but Ahri, the Spirit Rush, we're finally getting to see her mobility as she flashes over the wall along with a dash. Means she's finally putting Aphelios' head not on a plate, as he's managed to walk away and survive under the tower on a sliver of health.
Yeah, really good play there. Just not a good fight here at all for the Knights. Got a bit greedy, Masana going in a bit too far, hit a great shockwave, but no follow-up at the time. Abe looking for the root under tower, but actually Karina managing to get out of there between, I think, the cast time of that purple Q to not get rooted under tower, take too many tower shots. So, overall clean fight, and it makes it really hard, especially 2 Drakes taken here for the Stormwolves. They're just starting to snowball this game completely out of control, it feels like.
And here we go, Vi with the cease and desist once again. No way out for top, as Sharky's decided to start trying to funnel towards this top lane. Both the ganks so far successful, as an Ocean Rift now coming into play. But you are exactly right. The control has kind of been granted here to the top lane through Meatbun and Sharky. And we're going to see the first tower fall here in the top lane into the hands of this Poppy. But it feels like the influence she's having right now isn't that much. Maybe I'm getting a little bit too hasty, but right now compared to Lee Sin, Wukong, and Varus' influence, the rest of the Knights are struggling to keep up. The gold difference is actually almost exactly the same, only 700 apart.
Yeah, and we're seeing this second Herald also being taken by the Knights. The second Drake, of course, these are 2 really powerful single Drake stacks here for the Stormwolves. So that's worth about 700 or so gold each, I think, across the team. But it doesn't show up in items, it doesn't help you get to power spikes faster, it just means you're a bit stronger at equal power spikes.
Is that it? Is a Drake worth about 700 gold?
It's maybe more, I don't remember. They buffed them all last season, I think. So, I think it's actually quite a lot. It's a lot more than you think.
You know, I never knew. I mean, like, I knew they transferred to money, but I never thought it was that much. Wow.
Yeah, it's approximate due to, like, the stats. But, and I think it's also often worse than just a straight gold lead, because as I said, it helps if you're at equal item spikes, but the advantage of a gold lead is that you can get your item spikes first and then fight, and that's worth so much more gold, because you might be like 100 ahead, but that's an item, and that's like 1,000 gold there in that item. The other thing I guess I do want to bring up though is, the more I think about it, the more I think putting cash into this Poppy is really valuable, because the only magical damage threat you have on the side of the Storm Wolves is this Ahri, and she's built Everfrost. She's going to do a lot less damage than like a normal mage would. And so this Poppy has now been able to get away with building Tab Eyes and with building Frostfire Gauntlet, which is now a pure armor mythic with no magic resist in it. And so it's going to be taking so much reduced damage and make this Lee Sin, this Varus, and the Wukong Burst significantly lower without really trading anything away.
Exactly. And Poppy being able to tank all this damage means that Varus, who is going an AD build here, will be slightly weaker compared to, I mean, if Poppy wasn't building or has the I mean, is AP Varus still a valid build right now?
It is. I don't think it's good here. It's very much like one-shot focused, and I think you still need some form of objective damage, especially here, which you wouldn't really have if you went AP Varus, I feel.
So the next Drake, Ocean, coming up in 2 minutes now. As our teams start to spread out, Poppy, having already taken the first turret, has a great chance to push up and may be able to take down top here in a 1v1 due to her tankiness and the amount of money that she's picked up from taking all those turret plates. Turret plating fallen means that it's also going to be really hard for anyone else to pick up as much cash as Poppy does, because it's not really shown in any statistics how much money she has.
Yeah, so what I want to think, I guess, is we've still got the second withheld, obviously, on the side of the Knights, and they want to use this probably in mid lane to try and get pressure into the mid tower. 2 towers have fallen on opposite sides of the map, but the way they've fallen means that the Storm Wolves are favored towards these Drakes, which is the next one up in a minute 10. Easier for them to set up because it's harder for the Knights to get in there to contest. And we're going to see Vision. We see Vision currently here almost completely empty, actually. A bit of Vision at the bottom for the side of the Storm Wolves. But other than that, not really that much Vision in the map, so I do expect to see him set up soon. Top lane, Sharky still not using that hell, which I'm surprised about. And we are seeing Vision though as well set up here by the Storm Wolves bot side. They're going to reset. They can get the soul point here. It would be a really big advantage, pressure for the rest of the game, just in terms of where they have to be. But what's the flash here from Saku? We should note actually that the Knights are playing with a substitute support because their normal support, I believe Lady of the Wind, she's just not here. I'm not.
I see.
So
okay,
because of this, it's
Okay, well, we've had a flash now, burnt out, as Dragon is steadily ticking away. 20 seconds on the clock, as right now the Storm Wolves are starting to take their control of this bottom river, and the Knights struggling to take control back, as Lox is forced to pop his shield bow early. Meatbomb's going to chase it down and show why he's been picking up all the gold. There comes the shockwave, forcing Seraphine down, and that's the bot lane duo gone. Ahri down to follow next in suit, and Wukong threatening to be the fourth as the Dragon and available and threatless to take for the Knights.
Yeah, just a really good fight there from the Knights. We do see they catch the Storm Wolves a bit split up and are able to win almost each part of the fight. Meatbun doing good pressure mid, and then without the damage, the Seraphine ult hits, but there's not really any follow-up, and the Orianna Shockwave is so much more powerful because it does damage. They just can chain these abilities. Sharky there to get a good engage there, and picking up a bunch of kills, not much cost, getting the hotel. They're taking 2 mid towers now, and Top
wants to jump back on this one. He will be able to take down Orianna as well. Aphelios, you need to make distance. He's wasted his Gale Force trying to get away. It's a flash as well. Top may have gone up a little bit too far. Gonna hold on to his life as Aphelios may have been a bit too greedy on that Lee Sin and smite it. As Dragon hasn't been handed away. Sharky does get the smite down as Wukong gave away his earlier. I wonder if that was a responsible decision from Hamyan. I'm struggling with that one.
Yeah, I'm just saying Hamyan.
Hamyan, yeah, sounds right. Oh, and we're gonna go back in again. Vi wants to turn this one around. It is Meatbun. This is why he's gotten so much gold. Look at the damage he's soaking up right now. Top goes down. A teleport coming down to help them clean up even more. It's Orianna, but a tower is gonna foil the plans of the Knights.
Yeah, a bit messy there. In the end, it feels like that re-engage at them, was that a 2 for 2? I think it was, with an extended chase. And so you're still really happy about this as the Knights. You get, I think, 3 extra kills out of this play. You pick up the Drake, stop the stacking, and you get 2 towers in mid, a lot of pressure on this inhibitor. they have so much more map control now than they did just 2 minutes ago, where they have this huge quadrant. It's so hard for the Stormwolves to get to Baron, and that's why we now see the Knights clustering up around Baron, maybe looking to set up vision there or start it. Very open bot lane. Sana's.
No way. Look at how much damage that shockwave is doing.
Yeah, I don't. It's an O2 Orianna. She's like 2 items. Like, I don't. The Sana just does more damage. See.
Meatbun wants to go in again. Wukong has a way to get out, but there's the Everfrost. Ari showing why she's so effective. Top flies in and takes down the enemy jungler as Hamayan wants to dive back in. The Cyclone coming out as Ian wants to make distance, looking to get a root down, and Meatbun not so good at soaking up damage now. Support and top lane are both being put into a grave right in front of the Baron, served up as dessert for the Stormwolves.
Yeah, that was a bit of a disaster. They all quit out. Masana couldn't teleport in. And so they went for this bush play, but they didn't wait long enough to guarantee that it would be a kill to lock this down. And they didn't get the kill, they overextended, they lost.
Slide that to 1 HP?
I think maybe, I know jungle pets can't kill major objectives, so my assumption this year has been whenever we see an objective at 1 HP, it's the jungle pet's fault, rather than anything else. But, because it feels like otherwise something's bugged. Other than that, yeah, just really good fight there from the Stormwolves, gets a lot of things back. The Baron's going to make it much easier for them to get map control, to set up their soul point, and give them this tempo, this momentum that they need after that previous fight. As I was saying, Masana didn't have teleport up, couldn't get into the fight, and so this Orianna we've seen be really strong. They've had Shockwave up, but not there. Without that, you lose a lot of your setup, you lose a lot of your burst damage as the Knights. So I think that's... They do get a tower for it though, I think. Only one. But still not worth it.
But dying there was so bad. Yeah. If they didn't get engaged on in that fight, managed to walk away, not only they not give away Baron, but they don't give away a 2k gold lead, man. What? Yo! Just walk away, guys. A really, really unfortunate spot to be taken away in. 2 minutes now coming down to the next dragon as pressure being spread across the map. Don't forget, Baron's still up for Stormwolves, and they should be able to apply this pressure effectively. But right now, they're not really sieging any turrets, nor looking to shove them, besides Ari now walking towards the bot lane.
Yeah, I think they only got resets, so it's interesting, but we are seeing the waves crash now. They're able to shove now. They should definitely be able to take this mid-tier 1. And bot lane should be able to help. I don't think Masana's going to be able to do anything about this. I will be interested to see if they can get the mid-tier 2. That would be a huge win if they can get it to map control. But we're seeing a setup here, actually, from the side here. No, going to call it off. And the Baron will help Drake, but it could be better. Waves crashing. It looks like they're actually abandoning these pushes, just trying to get vision. Maybe looking to reset for the Drake. I do want to call out, though. Hanbian feels like almost quietly, we talked about him almost not at all, has a 500 gold bounty. It's a 507 Wukong. 2.5 items already in the 24 minutes.
Yo.
This Wukong's actually a huge threat, and it feels like just not noticing.
It's been a little undercover, but we might have seen it more in that last fight around the Baron. But after you're pointing it out, yeah, it is really important for us to keep our eyes on that Wukong. 2 black cleavers being spread across the board here as well, meaning that Poppy and Vi are both going to have a really hard time soaking up this damage. Wukong, as you said, is going to be a real threat as... Look, the Knights are trying to be a bit sneaky-beaky. Oh, sorry, this is Stormwolves trying to be a bit sneaky-beaky. I'm not sure to what goal.
I think that kills, but if we spot it out...
I mean, Vi gets out, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess it's not... Yeah.
Yeah, they got control of drag, at least kind of, but they're backing as well, maybe. What?
Because that's been topside. Look at what Meegan's been doing this whole time.
Right.
Poppy's pushing the tier 2 tower, and there's teleport as well. Teleport for both top lanes, so it is a bit equal. But now we're going to see the Stormwolf... No, the Knights can force their way into Baron. Not Baron, Drake. My words getting confused. We're getting confused today.
Oh, that's alright. And here comes down the bush. Ian completely being erased off the map. And we get the chance to see Cyclone taking its effect. Sharky forced to go golden now. Humpayan's forced out of the fight as well. Sharky does some damage, but is taken down. Trying to be matched here by the Ari. And Masana refuses to go down. We get the chance to see Aphelios dish out this damage. And Meat Bun, there's no teleport being burned. Sprinting down to the bottom river as a pause, unpause, probably explains why we saw Wukong struggle a little bit there. Barely making it out after that disconnect. That was an interesting fiasco.
Yeah, I think that was a good fight start. And then, it was, I think Sharky, no, it was out of Ian. I think dying instantly. This freeze is normal. Don't worry about it. This is how League deals with freeze. It'll be fine. Taking it down. But actually, something really funny happened there, which is that Seraphino resets its length if it hits an ally or an enemy. But the Karma, I believe, died so quickly that it didn't hit her first, and so it didn't manage to catch the back line with Abe on the Aphelios and didn't get the charm off, which would have meant she died, would have been 2 more kills over that wouldn't have gone over. So, a really funny interaction there. Do get Soul Point though, for the side of the Storm Wolves here. Ocean Soul, obviously not the best one, but it's still pretty damn good. It's a soul, all souls are good. And it's a lot of threat. MCOM keeps getting more powerful. A bit of an interesting build path here, it looks like, picking up the Chain Vest with that Hex Drinker as well. But other than that, not much. Varus hits 2 items, gets to Wit's End, standard build. 2.5 items across the board. I think this, at least in builds like you're into, this is basically a full damage build. Seeing Ravenous Hydra, of course, being picked up here. So this side lane split push for Lee Sin is probably just going to keep trying to do that. That means that they don't have this real front line. They only have Wukong as their tankiest member. And so maybe there's a way to punish that for the side of the Storm of the Knights.
And 4 of the Storm Wolves hovering around the top lane now with an objective timer steadily ticking down, still a minute away, but you can see the vision control they've managed to obtain, as well as the items they're all leaning upon. Wukong, he's managed to pick up a Hex Drinker on top of his 2 items that he has already. Things like players like Varus, Seraphine, Lee Sin, all on track to receive their 3rd item already, as still some of the players from the side of Knights are struggling to keep up, even though they're all slightly behind. But this difference is going to speak volumes when multiplied by 5 in a team fight. And the threat being placed right now by the Storm Wolves to take this Baron is immense. Top forcing a back here. It's getting Masana to match it. Teleport still up if the fight needs to come down, but a tower taken and Baron being ignored. Oh, sorry. No, it's going to be Wade being shoved. My apologies. As now turning around to face this Baron.
Definitely, and I think it's really... Ooh.
Uh-oh, Meatbun's gone straight in. And he's found Varus, who's been up a little bit too far. Hamyan. How is this always happening in team fights, man?
I don't actually think the pauses happen. Like, I don't know. It's weird and a mess. We just gotta wait this out. League client moment.
Yeah, League client moment.
I don't think the pauses actually...
Okay, we've dived back in as Varus has gone down. Hopefully that pause hasn't affected this fight too much. Seraphine crashed against the wall for a double in the hands of Meatbun. And all of a sudden, this game is looking a whole lot more winnable for the Knights.
Definitely, and we actually saw a solo kill on the top side while that was happening. Masana solo killing this Lee Sin. He has no tank stats. And so that Orianna damage with the ultimate can just one-shot them, almost. But we're seeing Baron here getting taken for the Knights. And now they have the Baron off the back of a bit of a thrown team fight around Baron. So, really a back and forth game here. We're 30 minutes in. Gold is exactly even. And I really don't know who I favor. It's obviously the Storm Wolves having 3 Drake stacks, but I think their comp scales worse. And we're going to keep seeing fights like that happening. Especially if you can get like Meatbun to stick in side lanes or Masana to handle this top split push threat, which is really what I feel like the Storm Wolves are relying on at this point. Their comp doesn't win 5v5s unless you hit a huge Seraphine ult. So you have to play around side lanes and try to get this split push pressure. But as we've seen, players on the Knights can answer, they can handle it. Deathcat coming in from Masana, that's a 3rd item, huge 3rd item, like actually beating Karina there. 3 items here for Meatbun on this Poppy, all of them dedicated armor items. There is no magic resist. We've got 1 nub anti-magic cloak here, but Thornmail, Sunfire, Frostfire, Tab Eyes takes almost no damage from any of these big threats on the Storm Wolves. And the Vi, 2 items, Stopwatch down, but she can build into GA, she can build into Death Stance. A lot of value here. Aphelios, 3 items. We are seeing these big item spikes all across the board, but this is where I feel the Knights competition really comes online.
And look at Masana, 300 CS on the board. Oh my god. Leagues above everybody else in the game. And because of that, being able to pick up their 3rd item as well as starting to build towards their 4th already. Having 3 items on Masana and on Poppy as well. And on Aphelios as everyone's steadily hitting their spikes. Ahri still struggling to catch up along with some of the other champions. And as you said, Knights are really going to start looking dangerous here. As Soul Point was denied earlier. But guess what's about to go down? 30 seconds on this Ocean Dragon as the Knights decide to make their home in a tiny little brush just outside the red buff.
Oh, we saw this play earlier. The Knights have a big advantage in the vision around this trait where everyone's going in, and I think that's what they're trying to play around. You can see, like, obviously Scuttle, though the vision there helps a lot for the side of Stormwolves. They know where they aren't, and this bot control ward won't be noticed. That is a teleport spot, maybe a flank spot. But I feel like, especially with Baron here, the Knights should be able to take this. I don't even know if you take this fight as the Stormwolves, honestly.
Yeah, look, Stormwolves don't look like they're contesting it at all. Ari staying topside to continue to secure these top towers. Lee Sin moving bot side, and no one else contesting this dragon as a second one now being handed over to the Knights. As you said, roughly 700 gold of stats. We'll probably need a confirmation on that number, or maybe a better estimate of what it could be. I'm sure each dragon probably varies a little bit as well.
Yeah, a bit. I think it really depends on game state as well. Ocean Drake's worth a lot more early game and a lot less late game because their power is this sustain out of combat, but late game, you don't take as much poke damage, you're not like taking long extended lane traits. So, yeah. Drake stacks kind of just for soul at this point, I think. More importantly is Nine Soul. I'm just trying to think like... we've got... I just want to check, so we've got a stopwatch in this Felios, he's going to be so hard to kill. Building to the Void Star, but that's the only stopwatch. So, I would like to see, if possible, a Zhonya's or a stopwatch pick up from Asana here. Maybe one at some point for Meat Bun, but I think Knights in clean control. They're going to set up vision around Baron, keep making these plays, and bot lane, nah, we'll be fine. Just try to stop the Stormwolves, stop this Lee Sin split pushing with this Ravenous Hydra, Eclipse, Black Cleaver setup we have going. And yeah, Team Gold, identical. 33 minutes in, this game's almost as close as can be if you just look at that metric.
Then again, these dragons are really where things start to swing around. And there still is an extra dragon, along with some different buffs, especially for that Stormwolves, who aren't stacking the same dragon 4 times. And I think probably the most unique adjustment to the map is how the Rift changes based on what soul it is. The Ocean Dragon right now hands over a lot of utility to both teams. I mean, 6K, what are your thoughts? Which team actually benefits the most right now from the Ocean Rift?
I think I would actually say that I think it's better for the Stormwolves because they have this pick comp. They need these picks to play. We've seen the Knights use it great to like get setups, get Drakes, but their comp doesn't need it to do it. They don't need to. They can just take this 5v5 front to back and win it. Well, the Stormwolves, they need these bushes. They need these surprise flanks, ults, and getting these picks with like Chain CC to be able to win these fights. So I think the bushes favor them more, even if we have seen about equal use from both, because the plays could have worked otherwise.
And just before this Baron coming up, almost under 60 seconds, Aphelios is just about to hit one of the best setups you can have, which is having the chakrams as well as the scythe. I think that's what it's called. Is it the pistol or the scythe? The red one.
The red one, it's... I don't know what weapon it is. I know the name, it's Severum, but I just don't know what weapon it is.
Oh, my apologies. Well, I mixed up the rotation either way. He's on green-blue.
This is...
Man, Aphelios is confusing, bro.
Okay, so it's green-blue, which means they go... I think this is wrong. It's not the
That's
usual
what I
rotation,
thought.
at least.
You're supposed to go white-red. But we will be about to see... either way, confusion out of the way. We should be able to break things apart in a moment as we see how Aphelios' guns go. No point breaking it down until we can really see what happens. Sharky jumping over the wall here onto the Wukong. But then again, he's got that chance to dash away with his clone backing him up. Baron Nashor, 10 seconds on the clock. And the gold difference still very much identical. Keep your eyes here on that Wukong, still 6-0-8 with a 600 gold shutdown. Something like this going to the hands of Kanabe is really what is going to be the most dangerous thing to look out for. Kanabe or Masana picking up more gold is the thing that Stormwolves can ask for the least. As Baron now starting to be pressured with the assistance of Scuttle, that bonus movement speed is going to make this fight far more favorable for the Knights.
Definitely, and we see the Knights, well, a lot of good vision just before this fight starts. They're going to try and keep setting up, maybe start the Baron. Aphelios obviously good at Baron damage, and I think these guns are actually pretty good here. This is definitely not the worst combo we've ever seen. So, What a
So
setup.
what do we need to be seeing out from Stormwolves when they engage in on this fight? Oh my god, Sharky flash dashes over the wall all alone. Charm, Everfrost, Root. The amount of CC can't stop this guy. Goes unstoppable in the middle of the fight. Has a Resurrect in his back pocket. About to bring it all back again. As Hamayan is in the middle of the rest of the team spinning around like a laundromat. But he's going to get shut down. They've traded 1-for-1 in the jungling department. So this Baron is going to be hard to close out. But the shutdown on the Wukong is what matters.
Definitely, and this rotation is just not correct. Okay, we're fine. I'm just gonna move on.
Yeah.
Red purple is never right.
Yeah.
So because of this happening, because the way the health bars took
down. The way Meatbun's still going through this tower. Hold on. Hello? Where did Ari go?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh.
A big kickback here from Lee Sin though means the shutdown is going to be handed over to the Lockster, and maybe it's time to see the power of Virus. But Meatbun's too strong. After that shutdown, he is walking free from any danger.
Yeah, that Orianna damage, we saw Masana hit a QW onto Lockster, and it was half the health. Like, that's with a wit's end. There's magic resist as well in this Virus. But this Drake is up, and both junglers are racing on their way down here. Meatbun finds the backline, but the resetting, Meatbun's alone. He's
found the Lockster, but he doesn't have his team to back him up. Orianna desperately dashing down. Yo! Shockwave one-shots the Virus, and now down the top, who's barely trying to make it out of the engagement. Meatbun forced to dash back as Vi on his tail, and this dragon is pretty much all but the Knights.
Wow, that was... This Orianna does so much damage, I swear. Like, this Sana damage just does more damage. Sana Orianna does more damage. And this is the scaling I guess I was talking about as well, where their team does more damage in every spot, they have better stats at every spot at this point in the game. Their comp is just so much better built for this phase of the game. And we're seeing that they've gone here, they've got 3 Ocean Drakes on their side. Maybe they can take Baron, but I think this is so hard for the Stormwolves at this point. Gold's almost even, but I just don't think that it matters when you nearly complete items, you lose. So, Baron gonna be set up for looking for this. Do you think that as, like, the Stormwolves obviously, we think they have contested, but do you think you try to play for side lanes and try to get top for it, shoving it, or do you think we might see just go for the 5v5, just one last attempt?
I think a 5v5 really needs to be considered here by the Stormwolves, as their composition is not only steadily falling off, but at the same time, Knights are blowing up, man! Poppy's unkillable, and someone wrote in chat that Varus lost to the shopkeeper. Which is a fair statement now that I'm looking at his build. Not exactly sure what the plan is here. I've never seen this on a Varus. Maybe I just haven't played Varus enough, but I gotta say, it's not looking good. Meatbun, he's gonna do a split here and keep top away. The Baron not being instantly taken. Meatbun may have TP up, but so does top. Meatbun should win the one-on-one engagement here and has to keep his verdict if things get dire. But right now, trusting the rest of his team to be able to keep control of that top river. Baron now up. The Ocean Dragon still quite a while away. So we should see some sieging happen here from the Knights if it's captured. And finally, Aaron being started.
Yeah, definitely. I think the big thing is it's actually really hard for Meatbun to win this because of the sustain from Lee Sin W2. Even with Vaughn Mail, it's not enough shot and killing to fall off the wave, so Meatbun can't ever really win the 1v1, I think at this point, unless we get an all-in from top. But this Poppy can just stall it and make it really hard for the tower to ever get hit. But they actually pulled off Baron here, and just going to reset.
I feel this actually has correct item rotation.
Yeah, or at least for now.
For now.
And that's a GA as well in the Appeals, but he still has refillable.
Hey, you know what? Hey, a man can never have too much healing.
True.
Oh, he actually has Bloodthirster, but you know what? Hey, maybe he needs an extra 150 health when he presses the button to heal himself.
Yeah, that's possible. This is fine. Like, sometimes builds just work out so you don't need to sell it. GA is always coming back up for Sharky as well. And we've got this stopwatch from Asana. The big thing about this stopwatch is that with these hold picks, with this pick comp, if you just stopwatch the pick, their tempo kind of falls apart completely. And that's when you can re-engage, when you can turn these fights around, as we've been seeing Knights do constantly this game.
I think that's a really good call out too. And here's the thing, right? is if we see the Stormwolves go down here in this fight over the Baron, they lose. The game is pretty much over for them if they go down in this fight, which is why it's such a risky one for them to take. It looks like it may just be Hamyan. Never mind, he is not going to be looking for a steal. He's going to be looking for a vacation down in Hawaii. Alright, as Poppy gets a beautiful keeper's verdict down, and this Baron is all but secured, and I'd say a fairly responsible decision for the Stormwolves. I wouldn't say it's do or die for that Baron fight. It may have put them cripplingly behind, but dying there is what would have ended the game.
But I am just really nervous here because I think a fight's break at any second. The middle inhibitor is open and they have a wave, so they might just keep pushing. They are stronger and they know it, so why not? Obviously, wave clear is going to struggle a bit as well. For the Stormwolves, Ari is not great at clearing Baron away.
She's trying her best, but even with Virus to back her up, those waves are looking a little bit better. As the first inhibitor falls down in the wave, all of a sudden, is going to look a lot harder to break. Stopwatch comes out, Cyclone already burnt. The second charge now going through, and down goes Orianna. That's a minute on the death timer. Top looking at the next to be taken out. Pi still has a resurrect, and this game is on track to end. The jungler and the top laner now both missing as the Baron minions steadily set their siege on these Nexus towers. Karina trying to keep the four members of the enemy team away. And these cannon minions are making it a little bit hard to siege these towers. Meatbun decides to flex his tankiness just a little bit too hard, as Karina almost has no avenue out of the fight, barely making it to the fountain, but in exchange losing out on that second Nexus tower. And because of that, it looks like Knights are the winner of your first game of the night. See what I did there? Anyways. So, I mean, Knights behind a little bit at the very start of the game, but we saw them take a pretty shocking comeback later in that game. I really didn't think we were going to see them come back that much, but despite seeing Stormwolves, they had control of that lane in the early game, but maybe the Aphelios Cull is what brought it back. At what point did we see the Knights bring this game back?
Oh, I would say it was really, I think it was the fight around, was it a trade? I'm just trying to remember when it feels like it wasn't like one big fight. They were just staying enough in it to keep scaling and playing around the map well enough that they weren't falling behind more than 2k gold. And there's never really a snowball able to be gotten from Stormwolves how they wanted to have it. And so when you scale, it's just so hard to do anything. And that's what we saw happening. This Poppy, the Vi. I really don't know if I can think of like one specific point. It would have been the mid lane fight if there was one. Probably, where we saw kills, but that was when the tempo really changed. But even before then, it really was feeling like an even game. I think they just played well enough to stay in it, and that was enough to keep going.
I think it's really hard to break it down because the game wasn't particularly one-sided. Even when there were moments where Knights took the advantage, Stormwolves was very ready to jump back in and take the advantage back. I mean, we saw that happen right in front of the first Baron that was taken, where Knights had won a great fight, got up a bit of gold, overextended in the enemy jungle, and then pretty much just got wiped off the map. So, Baron taken from there, and a lead being taken by the Stormwolves, which they very steadily lost again. And that was happening most of the game. It was a big tug of war, and then in the end, that Baron was captured. They had the siege, and the Orianna was just too strong.
Yeah, I think like the game was even, but in gold. But that doesn't matter when your comp is so heavily outscaled, as we called out in draft, right? The Stormwolves have this comp that needs to get ahead early. It needs to snowball, because if you get to these late game 5v5s, you just lose. You're outmatched in almost every single role. And they just couldn't do that. So even with that Drake lead, they weren't able to convert it into a soul. And they just kind of completely got outscaled. It really just felt like that. It wasn't really that big a play diff in some ways. It was just a champ select diff point.
I think that's a great way to put it. Really excited to see the next draft. But for now, we will jump to a quick break. I've just been served dinner during the game. I don't know what this is. We got some pastry triangles. I'll let you know how they go on the other side of this break. So please grab some water, and I'll see you on the other end.